Boulevard. It's Tufuga, driving to Brisbane High School Alumni. I'm wearing my Samoan shirt. It's Queensland Samoan rugby league. But I lived here for 42 years. I went to Brisbane State High School when I was a kid, and I'm still a member of the alumni, having graduated in 1987. Brisbane State High is quite interesting. It's a school that has had numerous sporting elites, politicians, captains of industry, military men, and it's a GPS old school. And it's a traditional GPS school. It's one of 9 GPS schools. For my wife in Indianapolis, Brisbane State High School, for your information, is meant to be an elite school. One of 9 GPS schools here in Queensland. But we're meant to have a network of sorts amongst old boys. But in the real world, that doesn't come into fruition. But I still maintain contact with people from school, mainly through alumni meetings. Today we've got our AGM, whereby we're going to elect our executives for the alumni, and we make decisions on the future of the school. This is my first time voting in the AGM, although I've attended numerous meetings over the past few years, few decades, but I haven't been participating in any more activities since I've had some run-ins with the law. But you can't help racism. For 42 years I've lived in Australia, and throughout the community I'm still not respected, and that's simply because I'm a Samoan, and people look at a Samoan and they think that we're second-class citizens, and unfortunately that's the way it is in the real world. After high school, after not wearing your school uniform, you're just a civilian, and they just judge you by the way you look. So it's just the way it is. So, as they say, don't judge a man by the colour of his skin, but by the contents of his character. That was Martin Luther King Jr. That's what he said. Unfortunately for myself, I don't conform to the stereotypical attitudes of what Samoans are meant to be. Samoans are meant to be Christians and conformists. If you're not a Christian, then you must be a villain. Or if you don't attend churches, you must be a villain. Now, I was brought up as a Christian. Later in life, I became atheistic and agnostic, and I seldom ever attend functions or become institutionalized in the churches. I have decided to live my own life as an Australian, but not everything is as society would have you become in terms of conformity. I didn't conform to many of the attitudes of mainstream. I never assimilated into the Australian culture. As long as I've been part of this Australian culture, I've learnt that many things did not correlate to my way of life, my mode of thinking. Even as an Australian, I wasn't your bogan, wasn't your typical white Australian, I wasn't your typical Aborigine, I wasn't your typical Samoan, I wasn't your typical stereotype person from a lower socioeconomic status, as it were. As it were, I'm a university graduate. I have 2 university degrees, doing my master's in policing, intelligence and counter-terrorism. I worked as a private investigator as well as a security officer. And Australian and Queensland society, the justice system, and especially the Queensland Police, have always targeted me throughout my whole life. And I found that the most repulsive and repugnant people that I've ever gotten to know have been police officers. And that's just the way they are. They're corrupt, and they're more criminals than criminals themselves. That's what I've learned as a Samoan and as an Australian. So right now I'm going to our meeting. We're going to encounter people who are part of the establishment. Now, I was a member of the Australian Council. I was the councillor for the Queensland branch of the Australian Republican movement. And as it turns out, that creates more enemies than friends, especially the Queensland Police. But that's just the way life is, you know, you just have to tolerate. I'm not a gang member, I don't go around threatening people, I don't commit crimes as these people think that I have. But that's just the way life is. You have to deal with racism, you have to deal with stereotypes, and that's what I remember of Australia. So now, 42 years later, I go back to the institution that I was brought up in, Brisbane State High School. Now, I'm an alumni member. I've been an alumni member for a number of decades now, and I'm just going back, just seeing old faces. I see a lot of new faces because a lot of people come and go. A lot of people have passed. A lot of people have passed away, but that's just the way it is. So, anyway, Logan City is made up of a lot of working class Australians. You know, many of the white Australians who live in Logan City are either New Zealanders or Australians from other states. And this area is predominantly first generation migrants, Pacific Islanders, and Asians, refugees from boat people. So we have an admixture of Muslims and a lot of some Aborigines. So a lot of people here are working class, Centrelink type people and low income. So although I've been involved in the Australian Labor Party, I was a member of the Australian Labor Party, and I've known a lot of members of Parliament and the federal members of Parliament. Rankin, the member for Rankin is the current treasurer for the Australian Federal Government. His name is Jim Chalmers. Now, Jim Chalmers is a local boy. He's the only local federal politician that I know of. He actually was from Rankin, or around Logan. So he was brought up. A local lad. Pretty much like myself, I was brought up in Brisbane. Lived here for most of my life. I lived in Samoa for only 2 years of my entire life with my father, my biological father, and his family. But I played international rugby league in Samoa, and that's my life. I came here as a teenager from Wellington, New Zealand, which is, it's a pretty small city compared to Brisbane and compared to any of our major cities here in Australia. Even compared to Indianapolis, Wellington's tiny. Because I've been to my wife's family in America. America's it's just ginormous compared to anything here in Australia. But in Australia, you got to deal with a lot of competition, and it's like America. America's got a lot of competition. You're dealing with indigenous issues, the American Indians, the blacks, Black Lives Matter, and Hispanics. The Hispanics have a massive representation in America. Australia, it's Aborigines. They have a lot of race issues. Recently it's Muslims, Arabs, Lakemba, the Palestinians, and all of these anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic type of attitudes. But in terms of multiculturalism, I've seen Australia grow from a population of I've seen Brisbane grow from a population of 1.2 million in 1981 when we migrated here with my mother and my sister, and 1.2 million. It's now 2.5 million here in Brisbane. Logan City is now 300,000 people who live here in Logan City. When it was a little more than 60,000 back in the early 80s when we moved to Beenleigh 1986. The population of this area was very, very small. But now it's become well, it's burgeoning. Most of it's from a population from interstate, Victorians, New South Wales migrants, and of course you're dealing with New Zealand migrants. But of course the number one migrants into Australia are Europeans, mainly British migrants, English. But racism in Australia is prevalent. It is 42 years of living here. That's the thing that just screams at me. I have had to deal with so much hatred by a lot of white people. And even though I've been brought up with white kids at school, and a lot of my friends were white, after I left school, it was the real world. The real world in terms of looking for employment, in terms of working for the federal government, working for the Queensland government, doing security work. Racism was the overarching theme of why I found a lot of barriers in my ability to feel included in Australia. Aborigines had a lot of issues. There was a lot of, when I was studying at University of Queensland, I was studying Aboriginal studies, and I was studying deaths in custody, the Daniel York protest after Daniel York was allegedly killed. Well, he died in custody in a Brisbane watch house. Now, that was when I was at University of Queensland studying for my Bachelor of Arts, completing my Bachelor of Arts degree at the University of Queensland, studying government, majoring in government. I studied Aboriginal studies, I studied Australian public policy, Australian public administration, Australian public management, and I was studying government, Australian government, local government, and so forth. And in that time, I realised that institutionally this country is very racist. And I married an American soldier, and I tell her about it. She didn't believe me because at first, but you have to live here. You have to be as dark as I am to realise that. But there's that silent majority, is that institutionalised racism that is not prevalent. But needless to say, going to universities in numerous countries, or not numerous, in a couple of countries other than Australia. I've been to universities in the South Pacific and in New Zealand. I've become a writer. I have my own website where I write a lot of race issues about Australia, and it is quite interesting, and I'm always enjoying it. And you can't see what I'm seeing, but we've got a lot of traffic because I'm on the highway now. I'm on the Brisbane highway. I'm driving through, but when I first migrated here, it was a small city. Brisbane was basically an overgrown country town when I first arrived. It was essentially a country bumpkin town where they still had outhouses. That's when I migrated here. And as it turns out, it's a major city now with a lot of people everywhere. And most of these people have lived here less than I have. I've lived here way longer than a lot of Australians and a lot of locals who say that they're from Brisbane. But they've got to be here before 1981 to be more Brisbane than I am, and that's just the way it is. But people who were born after 1981 still think that they're more Australian than I am because they're white. But so that's the reason why I've become really connected to my Samoan culture, because I feel more Samoan than I do feeling Australian, and that's just the way that white Australia, has made us feel, or made me feel. A lot of people don't feel the same as I do. I know a lot of Samoans don't agree with me, but I'm not them, right? I'm me, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, there's a poorly boy here, but for what reason? Oh yeah, okay, it's a road closure. It's a Saturday, they've still got roadworks on a Saturday. There's a lot of traffic. But at high school, my memories of Brisbane State High was pretty good. I had encounters that was race related as well. I had fights at school. That was because I was taunted at school by students who were older than I was in higher grades, and they would tease me because I was dark, and I had to fight them. And it's just like that in New Zealand as well. It's the same story in New Zealand. I had to fight people at primary school because I was Samoan, I was dark. But nowadays, you know, it becomes way bigger in Australia. But luckily, I wasn't a small kid. You know, luckily I'm Samoan. Now I'd feel sorry for other races who were smaller in stature, smaller genetics than us Samoans, because we're not small. Right? So that's it. You know, we're not. You know, a lot of us are 6 foot plus, and weigh 110, 120 kilograms. That's most of us. So those are Samoans. And if it wasn't for the fact that we're physically, you know, not intimidated by white people, less people targeted us. But even at school. But it's once you leave school, the targeting is institutionalized. It starts off with your name. They start targeting you because of your surname, and then it branches off from there. So I've realised that Samoans who come after me, like after my family being in Australia, much longer than most Samoans, a lot of them have not encountered my experiences as 1980s migrant. Their transition into Australian life is similar to New Zealand, because New Zealand is very similar. However, in my day, there was very few Samoans, very few and far in between. A lot of us never had that amount of cultural interactions. And in fact, being a Samoan in the 80s was a novelty. So you get a lot of friends because people don't know what race I was. Throughout most of my school years, a lot of people thought I was a Maori, but they were mistaken. They couldn't tell the difference between a Maori, a Tongan, and a Samoan. That was in the early 80s. Nowadays, they can't tell the difference between a Tongan and a Samoan. Even I can't tell the difference between a Samoan and a Tongan unless you ask them. But you can tell a Maori. Us Samoans can tell the difference between a Maori and a Samoan. It's just that when they have mixed races, that becomes more difficult to discern and to differentiate one Polynesian race group from another Polynesian. So anyway, I'm heading off to the to our AGM at Brisbane SHS Alumni, which is in Vulture Street in South Brisbane. I just head off in there and just attend our meetings. I find that even in a classism context, Australia is the complete admixture of institutionalized racism, classism, racism, and actually those are the major issues within this country. And I know that there's a pecking order regarding classism in other countries, even in Samoa, such as the Matai system. But if you were to compare my genetics and my family background, well, my father's a high chief, which is comparable to an aristocrat in England, from the second estate, as it were. Somebody of Matai Ali is a lord, but Samoans, their Matai system becomes very debased because because they're issuing them, just like the British House of Lords now, they're issuing them to the highest and wealthiest person who can afford to become a landed gentry in England. And that's just the way it is now. Life has changed. But anyway, I've talked quite a fair bit about this as I make my way to Brisbane. I just thought I might have a talk at Brisbane State High School AGM discussion, and just to give a debrief of the past 42 years living in Australia. And frankly, if you're a white Australian and a monarchist, you would say that I'm a disgrace to white Australia, because I'm a non-conformist, and unfortunately that's just the way it is. You would consider me as an absolute disgrace, but I just still attend all our meetings, and I have no qualms about it personally. They may, you may, I don't care. But so I will attend our meetings, and I'll vote in our AGM and still be part of the system, even though I would be regarded as a persona non grata. That's just the way it is. Alright. Kalagoa, leo Kalagoa, wale Kalagoa, Australia. I've worked as a referee in a lot of sporting events here in Queensland. I worked as a rugby referee, as a rugby league referee, as a touch football referee, as an American football official. I've done numerous officiating duties for the local community. Even though my family weren't part of it, my daughter wasn't part of my tutelage or supervision. That's just the way it is. Life is a bit of a laugh in a satirical standpoint, but you just have to grit it and bear it overall, and you just continue doing what you do, and I just continue doing what I do, and I still write my articles. I talk about Australian politics, Australian life, Australian culture, from a Samoan Australian perspective, not a representative of the Samoan community, because there is no representative of the Samoan community, just as much as there is no single church or religion in Samoa. I mean, in Samoa they say they're Christians, although the head of state previously, Malietoa, was a follower of the Baha'i faith, and there's numerous Samoan Muslims. But there's that arrogance of a lot of Samoan Christians who think that there's only one faith in Samoa. But that goes to show how there is such a lack of respect of Samoans for their heads of state, which explains why the Tongan kingdom was preferred to the Samoans to have a cohesiveness and sense of cultural identity and affinity to one chieftain to another. So Malietoa was one, Tufuga was another, and Mataafa was another. There's that mixture of Tuiatua and Tuiana, but you had Malietoa, Tanumafili, and Malietoa, descendants of Malietoa Moli versus Malietoa Tanavo, my ancestor. But unless you understand the complexity of Samoan politics, you will understand that there was never a cohesiveness because there was conflicts amongst the Samoan chieftains. And for that reason, Samoa would always be divided. Even now you have the Tufuga, is under the tutelage of the American president as part of the separate Samoan state of American Samoa, which is under the protections of the US government. And although they're not American citizens, they're just American nationals, but not American citizens. So therefore they are disenfranchised. They can't vote in the actual American elections, which is they can't vote their president, which is kind of ironic because they're called American Samoa without citizenry rights. So they're not like Hawaii or American citizens, but that's American Samoa. So anyway, I played for American Samoa when I was in Samoa in 1988 in rugby league. Played in the Pacific Cup in 1988. That was a long while ago, and that's another story. Because I've been to different country. I've been to living in Samoa for a period of time, enough to become a representative of American Samoa and of Samoa. But these are the things that you do when you're just young and you just go and just play for whatever as a mercenary in sports. So that's what I did as a 20-year-old living with my father. But now as I'm now 55, I just realised that life hasn't changed all that much in terms of my socioeconomic status in Australia. That's just the way life is. And I suppose that's the way Brisbane will always be to me. I'll take this turn off. We're at CBD, just ahead of me. But I've got the camera switched to the front, so you can't see. Anyway, this is just an interesting drive and discussion of my spin on Brisbane. And such a life, eh? I would be considered the Brisbane underbelly. Everyone would say, wow, that guy's, I don't give the beautiful spin of Brisbane, the city that I've been brought up in for most of my life. Well, I'm at Wollongabba at the moment, so we're at Stanley Street now, and from Stanley Street meandering around through to Vulture Street. Oh, actually it's Vulture Street. Going past the South Bank train station, and on my left is the Manta Hospital. right now. I'm just driving past them now, and we're gonna just pass Somerville House School. I was the Somerville House girls touch football referee for a number of years. Yeah, so I've officiated a lot of these girls. At high school, I liked these girls. I didn't have a Somerville House girlfriend. I know their white fathers would have been outraged and disgusted if I were to date one of their daughters. That's a kid. My girlfriend was at Brisbane SHS High School. We were the same. She's married, she's got kids on her own. She's probably got grandkids now. Because I'm a grandfather, so if I'm a grandfather, she's going to be grandma as well. Yeah. So, right ahead of me is West End, and above West End is across the river is a place called Mount Cootha. And on Mount Cootha they've got all the TV channels, Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 7, ABC. They all do their transmissions from Mount Cootha. So I'm looking at it right now. So this is just driving past Somerville House. Now we're at St. Lawrence. We're going past the Serbian Orthodox Church. The Serbian Orthodox Church is just on the left of the Russian Orthodox. Oh no, this is Serbian. So the Serbian, I thought it was Russian Orthodox Church as well. These are all the local Orthodoxy, so there's a lot of pro-Russians here as well. So you've got to realise that this used to be a very big Russian community as well. So during the Ukrainian war, you'll realise that a lot of locals here, even people that went to school with me, are actually Russians. So you're going to have to realise that. So Brisbane State High School is on my right now. So I'm going through here, so we're going to have an AGM. I know we're going to be parking, and I might have to park in the same place. So I'm turning into Edmonton Street. This is a fair bit of come down levels of the AGM. So we have the alumni members here. I don't think I have any. So I used to live here at West End in 1981. We lived at Boundary Street. Before that we lived at Grey Road. Boundary Street's back in the early 80s. This city is all Greek city and Vietnamese, mainly Greeks. All the Greeks live here. So this is Greek carpet. Okay, there's no carpet here. So you can't park here. So I have to look for a park. So this is Musgrave Park on my right. Oh no, there's no park. Oh, that's been all blocked off. Got no parking. If the school parking is been blocked off. To try and find a place to park. Anyway, now I'm heading off to the meeting. I'll talk to you after the meeting. Just been to the meeting, done, it's all finished. Oops. Lock up this old bomb. Back home now. meeting's all done. And what did we do in the meeting? Well, we just talked about the preparations for the year. This year's the Olympic Games, so Brisbane State High School's got a lot of Olympians, people who are famous for representing Australia at the Olympics, so there'll be a lot of them. There's going to be a function regarding that, but yeah, so that's another end to proceedings for my old school. So that's it. Yeah, that's just something that I do whilst I'm not doing anything worthwhile with my life. That's just it. Okay, that's enough. Yep, talk to you later. 5 to 4.